need glasses.
Oh, right. Hey, we're the Game Faces, and today we'll be talking about the game we recently played, Papo Yo, by Minority Media. I'm Greg.
I'm Jen.
I'm Alex.
I'm Nick.
I'm Natalie.
I'm Blaine.
And I'm also Nick.
Oh, I should have put W, but whatever.
Whatever. Yeah, very whatever.
All right, so let's start. First, I guess I will say that my very first impression of the game. Oh no, Jen, you had a good question.
Oh, did anyone go into this game not knowing like the backstory and inspiration for it, or did everyone? Huh?
I'd like to say I don't know how you couldn't, because the dedication or something like that is to his parent or his brothers and sisters surviving the monster of his father.
Yeah.
It's like, oh well.
The opening says.
All right.
Thanks
for the interpretation.
We looked at the trailer of the game, and the trailer of the game shows the father as the monster in the trailer.
Yeah, we watched that too.
The description does that too.
So I think the answer is no.
It would be very hard. You'd have to like hit start and then get up to get a drink and then come back and the game would started.
Maybe someone did that.
Maybe.
The question I want to come back around to, maybe after we've talked about the game some more, though, is would it have been more impactful if they hadn't been so upfront with that from the very beginning?
What? We can talk about that now if you want. I think it was like they built the game to make it more of a surprise, right?
That's what it felt like at the very end. I was like, and now the big reveal. You were like literally revealing with the gameplay, but it's something that you already know and should have figured out.
Much like Gone. Oh, no. I'm sorry. I won't bring that up again.
Yeah, because when the statues transform, I guess it just gives you like the exact literal interpretation, but you were able to figure that out yourself just because you knew the whole time that.
Mm-hmm.
So was there a point to that part other than just to tell you, hey, literally this thing?
I think maybe it was supposed to be the character recognizing and facing his own bad memories. And
I think it's an interesting tactic, and like if you're going to make a game with this kind of symbolism, I think it's a good starting point to make the game assuming everyone already knows your symbols, because if someone does know your symbols and it's supposed to be a surprise, then it might be totally lame, so you should consider that. Maybe they considered it and decided it was better off if you knew.
Yeah. If it was too overt, no matter what they did, and it would have been lame to try and hide it. Be like, and guess what? Surprise.
Maybe people didn't play past the first part of the game because they didn't realize it was supposed to be about something deep. That's my uncharitable.
You seem to be hinting at something else about the game. Why would anyone play past the first hour of the game?
I'll go ahead and say it. I really didn't like this game. I thought the gameplay was a chore at best. At best?
Maybe that's.
We used that word as we were playing.
Yeah. You're just doing things. There are things to do, and you know what you have to do, and there are no surprises along the way. You just do the things.
For a game without a mini-map, it sure was go to this point, go to this point, go to this point. Which is interesting.
My only notes on the game are about the gameplay, and so I guess we can kind of cover that in detail right now. So my two major points. Okay, so what are the main gameplay areas of the game? It's puzzle solving and platforming. Are there any like other pieces to the gameplay that anyone else? So
spending a long time riding on a thing, going to the mountain, standing there,
watching some stuff.
There's also an element of hanging out with the monster.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I'd call that gameplay.
You can play soccer.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed the soccer part. I thought it was fun. I haven't been able to do that in a game before, and it's completely like pointless, right?
Well, I think it sort of rehumanizes your dad a little bit. Like he's still your dad. He's still
I think that's great.
But as far as advancing
advancing the game, it's not necessary. Which I think it's great to have elements like that.
Yeah, at first I didn't know you were able to interact with the soccer ball. It's like, oh, too bad. But then I accidentally kicked it. I was like, oh.
You say like
Fun.
it's a thing that doesn't really advance the game, and I think maybe this game had too little of that. It was too linear. It was too press A to continue, press A to continue.
Yeah.
There weren't enough little things like that.
So as far as the puzzle, like, so it's for me, I saw the major points for puzzles and platforming. So for the puzzles, the puzzles were easy, right? For me at least. But I don't think necessarily that's a bad thing. But for the most part, the puzzles, from my point of view, were just, can you go find the thing you're supposed to go press A? You know, go find that thing and press A. And that was like all of the puzzles every time for me.
Baiting the what's her name? The girl. Kiko, Papo. I don't know what the girl's name was. Baiting her into that little prison in that one spot. That was a little difficult to figure out. But
you're trying to glitch the game.
Yeah, I saw some glitches during that part.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Well, she like runs it like in a triangle or something. And
oh,
so
yeah.
Like, you can put objects where she wants to go. And she just kind of like freaks out for a little bit. That's
But the majority of the puzzles are pretty straightforward, and it's just interact with everything you can interact with until the thing happens that you want to have happen. Except for a few instances where you have to do a certain order.
But for the most part, you can't like do a puzzle wrong.
Or in a different way than is intended.
Or in a different way that's not intended.
It's not like using the resources around you to make a solution. It's just finding what they want.
There's no creativity. It's figure out the way the author wanted you to do it.
Well, I always wonder in a game like this, and I felt similarly with Fez, were the puzzles, the puzzles just not work out to be that interesting, and so they just went with it and decided to tell the story with, minor interaction, or were these the planned difficult puzzles from the beginning? I mean, I don't think any game designer would consider these difficult to figure out. You go to the point and you do it.
Well, difficult might not have been a pillar of their design.
Right, that's what I mean. What was it? Were there more complicated puzzles that they just decided were too complicated, or didn't work, or got in the way of the story, or didn't enhance the story, or something else? Or was this always intended from the start?
What I kind of felt like what lended to a lot of the puzzles feeling like chores is because the actual gameplay and puzzles they present in it don't really have any, like, there's no real connection to like the points they're trying to make. It just feels like it's like, oh, I just need to do this to progress the story. Like, there's no integration with like the message and like what they're trying to tell, which is and it's a really interesting concept to explore in a game, but unfortunately they didn't really. In what they have you doing, it doesn't really explore. It's just kind of like, it's like parallel. They never actually intersect to have a combined experience.
I agree, with the exception of the times when you need to sort of lure your dad, the monster, from place to place, and it's like he is literally this burden on you, and you are trying to get him to places that he doesn't want to go, and like lead him along with fruit, and it's like, okay, that's kind of impactful. Like, I've never had that experience of having a parent, someone who's supposed to take care of you, that is actually this huge, physically, huge burden that you have to kind of deal with. So I thought it was effective in that way, but not really in any other areas.
I guess him giving him alcohol purposely and then dispelling that
right.
too, but
that's a little bit less of a puzzle though, and then more of an action.
On that note, what the heck did the like ice fruits mean? What are those? I
thought the ice fruits were the alcohol. Which one was the alcohol?
No, the frogs.
Frogs
was alcohol.
But what the heck are the ice fruits? What
are the mangoes?
Are you drugging your Are you drugging your dad? I don't know. Maybe you are. But why isn't it like a different frog?
Yeah, speaking again about the symbolism, if you're going to tell me what one thing means, I want to know what everything else means. Or just don't tell me and let me wonder.
Right. Look, because like 5 minutes in, as soon as he eats the frog, I think I said like, oh, that's the alcohol, of course.
Yeah.
But isn't the alcohol the problem and the solution? Like,
too
he gets
much
drunk,
will put you to
Yeah, he'll eventually fall asleep from the alcohol.
Sure. Maybe it's a different kind.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there is an actual object that the purple fruit connects to, or if it was, crap, there's a part in the game where we need him to you need to be able to make him undrunk. How do we do that? Well, let's just pick another fruit and not actually connect it to anything.
Never could figure it out. It remains a
Maybe
mystery.
we don't get drunk enough. Maybe there's some magic thing that.
Maybe.
Maybe it only exists in South America.
So the other, unless we have more comments on puzzles,
Like ocelots.
just like the puzzle itself and not so much the narrative. So it can just kind of. So the other thing on gameplay that I have is the platforming element. So why, like, there were lots of parts where you had to jump around on boxes and stuff, and you had to do puzzle, as though
Time jumping and.
like time jumping and other things that related to platforming. So I thought that the platforming wasn't fun. I didn't really like it. It didn't feel good, and the mechanics just felt funky. And platforming wasn't. I don't know. It seemed
Made me angry.
It seemed lackluster.
I think you noticed, like, after I
Half-hearted.
platformed for a while, I got better at it. I think it was mostly just I'm bad at platforming, and that's going to be true with any game, no matter how good the mechanics are. But it made me angry because it was like, this isn't supposed to be a difficult game. The puzzles have shown me this isn't supposed to be a difficult game. Why is it so hard for me to jump from the rooftop to rooftop? I'm getting angry now.
My biggest problem with the platforming was that something like the box that disappeared, it was in the very last puzzle. It's like they added this element. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Everybody? Okay. They added this element at the very end, and it was like, why even bother having that? I mean,
those blocks that went invisible or disappeared, we weren't sure which one it was. Yeah.
It's like
for the platforming?
Like the Mega Man disappearing, coming back.
There was literally one box, and it was at the very end before the monster grabs the sister.
Yeah.
In that part.
Those are sequences. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just kind of weird. I mean, as a platformer fan,
I could have fit in earlier in the game, and you could have enjoyed learning that or something.
Yeah. Yeah, like why add this extra point of difficulty at the end if it's only just going to be one time? Like the gamer's never going to get used to that element and then get good at it. You know, you don't have to do it this once.
I feel like that happened a lot. Go ahead.
I think a big mistake with the platforming is you pretty much couldn't get anywhere without Lula, without the jetpack. So, I don't know, every jump was just the jump and hold to make it.
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel like when you're making interesting platforming, you want to have it where you can make it in one jump.
Yeah. I was going to say one part that stood out to me that I thought they did a nice sort of gameplay thing was when it's sort of near the end before you have the big temple, right before the temple, and there's those like 4 buildings, and you have to make the little rooftops with legs walk over to bridge the gap because you lost Lula, and you go through all that, but then when you come back, you have your jetpack and you can just jump over. You don't have to move you can't move the things back over, but it's like, yeah, I got my jetpack back, and you're excited. It kind of punctuated, yeah, I got Lula, hooray. But it did the thing that Bioshock Infinite did, where you've lost Lula, and you can probably infer that you're going to get him back in this game, but you see something you have to have Lula to do right before you go get him back. So it's like, okay, I'm obviously going to go get him back, just like they did with Elizabeth. Elizabeth is busy now, or whatever.
There's one of those
lock things.
Targeted, lock-on things in the distance.
You see it right before you go to the altar, so it's like, you know you're going to get it back. That was just...
I have to wonder why they even bothered putting gameplay into the game, right? Like, why did they bother with puzzles and platforming? Why not just have you walk around, you know?
It definitely felt to me not like a game trying to express a narrative through the medium of game. It felt more like a narrative that they stuck some gameplay elements into, like, oh, disappearing blocks, that's the thing we know about games, put that in there, and puzzles, put that in there, and now we have a game, and we can tell our story through this game. Kinda.
Yeah. I agree. I think they could have done a lot more with some of the elements they had. The game world is built around, it seems like an Inception type of play, like when you put all the houses together and you can move the houses. I thought that was really cool. I like the pulling a rope and then making stairs come out. Stuff like that was neat. Manipulating the world is really cool, especially from a visual standpoint. But they could have gone further, I feel. Like, even if the puzzles weren't difficult, like, really make that a part of the gameplay. There was at one point where the world, like, was literally like Inception, and it, like, curved in on itself. And again, for me, it was like, why didn't they do...
Right. At the moment that happened, I said, oh, I want to play a game like this. This is awesome. And
yeah.
Like, that would, like you said, the whole world manipulation thing, I think if it had gone deeper and if you had more freedom and something interesting to do with it instead of just press a button and see it happen and then say, wow, then that would have been... That's a game that seems worth making.
Yeah, even if you had a bunch of these elements all over the place and you can manipulate the world and make it kind of your own and it wasn't necessarily impactful, I mean, I don't know if I necessarily would love that, but I mean, at least they could have added something else, more manipulation in some ways. Maybe have some secret areas or something like that weren't necessarily, critical to the story.
They did have the voodoo doll thing.
Yeah, I think that was
I never went and looked at what that was for.
Oh, yeah, we didn't do that.
Yeah, we saw them all over the place, but when we were wondering about it, but it looks like you have to play the game again, which I'm not going to do.
Oh, yeah.
I have literally no idea what you guys are talking about.
There's these little dolls, these little voodoo dolls.
There are in every single area. It seemed like we didn't get all the hidden areas or whatever, but there's like a hidden area that you can get to where there's a little stuffed voodoo doll thing or teddy bear.
And I think what happens if you like touch one, then like however many you have touched at the very end of the credits, there's a little voodoo doll and it's a hat. And I think the more hats you get shows how many voodoo dolls you found.
And it has something to do with Steve. Maybe.
We never did press the change hat button. Never.
Right, there was a change hat button, and I was confused what the heck that was for.
Oh, really?
Controls. I don't know if anyone looked at the controls.
I don't think we got a single hat.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Maybe that's when you play through again and you've gotten voodoo doll hats. Maybe you can wear them or something.
I guess. Wait.
That seems weird.
The game does have achievements.
Were any of you guys able to touch it the first go around?
Touch it?
The dolls?
It? Oh, what?
I mean, you could like stand next to them.
Yeah, okay, that's all we did.
I thought maybe one time I stood next to it and it made like a sound effect, but I might have just been music.
We didn't see a single one, did we?
No.
Okay.
There was like a hidden area
That's
that
how we
was
play it.
super hidden near the beginning that was like a waterfall-y kind of.
So
rocky
one I
area
can think of is like when you're moving the tiny boxes or whatever, and it's moving the giant houses. Like the small boxes represent giant houses, and you have to make a path.
Yeah.
Near the beginning of the game, you can like instead of making the path go straight, you can make the path go veer off to the left, and there's like a little area over there, and it had the little teddy bear. So that was one that I remembered, where you had to do something different other than go straight. And
but that's just
what is this
Star
going
Collection
on?
or whatever.
What is that?
What does Jonathan Blow call it when you're collecting shiny things? For the sake of collecting shiny things.
I don't know.
Losing the game? That's what it is for me. I mean, you have to collect it when you find it, but
yeah,
if you cannot find it, then you won't.
That is the metagame that we usually play. It's if you know that it's a treasure, that there's going to be a treasure down this corridor, you just don't go. But if you go down the corridor, you have to pick it up.
Oh yeah, you guys play that game where if you accidentally walk over one, you can negative points.
Icon showed up. Dang. They got us.
Uncharted got us all the time.
You think you're going the right way,
Yeah.
and then it's just... Or they'll just put them in your path. That's cheating, though, so...
Those are the two gameplay elements, puzzles and platforms.
Well, the question I had about the world manipulation is, I don't know, what was the point of the world manipulation? Like, I thought some of the things were mildly interesting.
They looked
were
neat.
If they were explored, they could have been interesting. But I guess this is moving into narrative. But I just wanted to know, was it him retreating into his imagination to save himself from his father, or was it like he was a savvy on the streets? Not that was where he felt safe because he wasn't at home, or I don't know.
Thinking that it's just sort of like a kid that doesn't have much. It's his imagination that's giving him something to do and the power of the child's imagination.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the topics I enjoyed. I'm not sure where we want to go with this discussion. Just go with it. So I think. Does anyone have any other comments on gameplay? I guess.
It'll come up probably
It'll come up.
relating to the story, but nothing specific.
Yeah. Go for it.
The only last thing I have to say is about the gameplay is that there's the part where you're riding up the mountain. I thought that was super long and terrible. But there's the part where you're standing. After that, you get to that point where there's that spiral tower. You got to run around the spiral tower, and like I was running on that tower, and I was like, "Am I doing anything? Am I doing it wrong?" I just keep on running, and it was really long, and it just seemed really pointless.
I guess that's the thing, right? It's when the puzzles aren't interesting or like when it's not a complicated concept that you're piecing together bit by bit. It's just frustration when it doesn't work.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Now, I liked the spiral tower thing because
I liked it too.
if you fell off, you don't have to run all the way back up again. That's it. Like that's a really nice. I don't know. I hate. Sometimes it happens. Like you get so bored with running up this tower that you don't turn properly, and then you fall off, and then
I just thought it was like kind of a neat, spin on where instead of running up, you're like, but you described it as something narrative where it's,
I thought you could have done something narrative where it's like you're running all over the place, but you're not getting anywhere, sort of thing. Like you try, but your efforts don't do anything.
Yeah.
But they do something.
Yeah. And I thought it felt cool that
you drove a tower into the.
I thought the visual cue was enough that it was pretty clear I was putting the tower into the ground, and that's how I was going to get it stopped. And, I felt powerful.
By the way, Nick, when you mumble, our microphone is so sensitive that it just switches to us anyway, so you might as well just say it.
The mumble is for effect, though.
That part also had the push the statues.
Yeah.
Pull the thing, and then it changes the statues. And if you pull it too far, it changes back to the other thing. And I ended up pulling each one of them through it. And then it didn't work. And so, come on, I gotta do this again. I thought that was really unnecessary. I'm sorry. It was just after the long ride, I just really noticed the things that
You lost all your patience, all your powers of observation.
I can understand that.
We pulled it through all the way for the first one, and then we were like, wait, there's lines, there's a circle. Okay, we have to line it up. I wanted to say that it's. Do you want to say more about the tower statue thing?
No.
I was just going to say that when I was thinking about doing this hangout, and I was kind of hesitant because it feels hard to criticize a game so much about its gameplay when you know that the whole point is the narrative or the visual or something like that. But it's still a game, and like that should be the.
Yeah, it's a game. It's open to criticism.
Yeah, it's open to criticism. It's just. It feels kind of wrong. Like, it's almost like it's artwork. It's this person expressing something very personal about their life, and it has a lot of merit from that.
Right, but I feel like when you criticize, you should only say, does the gameplay reinforce what they're trying to say? That's how I like to approach it.
Right. Yeah, it's not valid to say, I wasn't having fun, because that's not what games are all about these days. So,
right.
But you can say, I was actually bored, and that took away from what the narrative was not trying to bore me. The narrative was trying to get me to feel something, and instead, being annoyed is going to pretty much neutralize any emotional effect you might be trying to have.
Well, a lot of times I like to think of it as making a game takes a while. It's hard, so I usually try not to criticize a game for not having enough or not adding in more. I'd prefer to think of the elements that they could have just removed, and it would have been better. And honestly, if they just had fewer puzzles, less jumping, all that kind of stuff, I think it would have been a better game, a more enjoyable experience.
I feel like this almost would have been better, like you said, as like a sort of a not open world, but feeling like a game where you could just kind of run around and look and explore, because it was so beautiful, and I wasn't really taking advantage of that most of the game. I was just trying to get from point A to point B. And if there had been, interesting little side passageways to go look at, and, something to enjoy. Like running around and looking at stuff can be satisfying gameplay. But this was so linear and everything was pretty much so laid out.
Well, that was something that I thought was, it's an abusive father. That's the point. But you kind of sympathize with the father just because he's the only thing in the game. I mean, the only thing to interact with at all.
You've got Lula and
you've got Lula,
sister.
but Lula is like yours. It's.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if that was the point, like to sympathize, like this is your father and you got to deal with them all the time. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but there was no option to find like, oh, my father's bad because there's all these other good things in the world, because there just wasn't anything else in the world.
I could see that being the
other
point.
than beautiful sets, but
Seems like the point.
Maybe.
In some sense. You're still family, ultimately, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it does feel like there's nothing else in your life at all. There's no other people in your community. There's no other, go to school, or I don't know. I guess you do have the girl. We thought she was just a friend, but you guys keep saying sister.
I thought sister. Maybe not.
Who knows? Kind of look the same. Same age.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Nick, and I think that I would agree with that. About less would be more in this case, or before I was saying that they could. There's stuff that they did well, but it was too little of it to actually make a big impact.
Yeah.
I think it could have gone either way. If they were going to do this world manipulation thing, like really make it entertaining and cool because it's a good idea, or just like, I don't know, not have it. Don't just have one level with a blinking block. Don't just have one instance where the world is folding.
Yeah, well, once you fold the world in half, pulling a platform out is not exciting. That should be like a tutorial on how to interact with objects.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, as you guys are saying, like the environment's really pretty. That's one of the things I enjoyed most about the game. From the very beginning, I thought, like, oh, this setting is really different. It's beautiful. I really enjoyed looking at things, looking at the graffiti, for example. That was everywhere. That was neat. If there was more to explore, like Natalie was saying, and you can go to different points to see more of that, or more of the environment or community revolving around these certain features that they had, that would be neat. But didn't happen, so.
You want to talk more about the imagination?
Should we enable this thing?
Oh, do we want to turn on questions and answers in case anybody's watching?
Is anyone watching? You guys can pull up the comments. If someone wrote anything, it'll be there.
Is there a way to write like a title, like the name of the game? Curious about these things. All right.
Remember that the only question that we got in our first video was, are they talking about WWF?
Well, just we could answer.
No.
Say no.
Please.
About video games.
Or maybe say yes. If you're listening. At all
Keep
there.
watching for more WWF.
Nick and I will probably watch the Royal Rumble after this. So
It's also WWE, just to be clear.
yeah, worldwide entertainment.
There was a worldwide
Wildlife
Wildlife Foundation issue, so they had to change.
Oh. All right, Nick P, did you want to start us on a different path?
I think I was going to talk about, very briefly, one thing I did enjoy was I got to experience a little bit about, I think, an area that I'm not too familiar with, or wasn't too terribly familiar with growing up, which is seeing how a boy in the favela or whatever might, how he might spend his time to entertain himself or whatever, or to escape. And so with very little like toys, with very little things to work with. So he had one toy, and I think it was clear through the game that like he loved this toy.
Yeah,
and
it's this precious one
like,
actual real toy.
Yeah. He just like everything was his toy, and the toy enabled him to do things in the world.
That's why he's just so devastated when he lost it. Like he's got this great imagination that can make him, move buildings around and stuff like that. But that's why it was this one thing that was his.
Yeah. And then the other thing really is just exploring his own imagination in the world that he lives in. And he does that through chalk. I think is the idea of the rest of the game is that he has chalk, or that his friend has chalk, or chalk is involved in some way, and that can shape the world. So those are the sort of the very few things he has that. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. He just has these things, but look how beautiful his world is.
And that could be an example of a place where the gameplay was reinforcing the narrative, where the things that are probably most important to this little boy who has nothing are the things that shape his experience of the game.
And it's also, he's literally using his imagination of how the toy works, of how the world moves, to escape.
A lot of the game is supposed to be him in the closet, right? Something like that. Like in his,
Maybe.
Isn't it? Like
when you leave the game, you're exiting a closet. And it's like,
You mean a literal closet, right?
yeah, like a literal closet.
Okay.
It looked like he went to the closet to hide from his father.
There was a closet at the end?
At the very beginning of the game. Yeah, and at the very end, you're like walking through the path, and then you go through a tunnel, and when you at the very end of the tunnel, there's like coats hanging up on hangers.
I don't know.
No.
Missed it. I thought there were just coats around. Why? Whatever. People need a place to put their coats.
I didn't make
Wow.
the closet connection until you reminded me that you hide in the closet.
Well, I think in the beginning there's
Yeah.
something, but it's been a while.
Yeah, in the beginning, I think you're hiding in a closet, and you see the shadow of your dad, and then you end up going through like a portal in the wall.
Yeah, so maybe the whole
Okay.
game you're in this closet. That must be it.
Yeah.
It was at the beginning and the end. So, kind of changes things a little bit. Now I feel dumb.
Yeah.
It's obviously his alcoholic father. What? He's in a closet? Don't be that?
Well, they didn't say that at the beginning, thanks to there was no dedication to the closet for giving location. How was I supposed to figure it out? Gosh.
Did speaking of Lula, did anyone understand the whole Lula dying in revival? Did he like break the toy and then put it back together or something?
Yeah,
He never broke the toy.
I don't know how to explain the resurrection of it.
They beat him up, took Dad's money, right? Like Dad is running around, right? And then you slam stuff on him. So maybe you knock him out, you take some money, and you buy a new toy.
And then everything is cool after that. He's not angry. He's not angry in normal mode
He
after
doesn't
that.
remember.
Hey,
You know what? That does make sense, because the father, if we're sympathizing a little bit with the father, he would buy you a new toy later after breaking it. Wouldn't he?
maybe
Yeah,
after,
maybe.
maybe I don't know. Could be. What were the black and white parts of the game? There was a car.
Oh.
A man was shot. Who was
So I
shot?
read about it, but I didn't know what
Curious.
was going on when I was playing.
Yeah.
So I'll let you guys talk and then I can say what
Did
I read
he-
about.
I imagine that maybe I was thinking he hit someone or he beat up someone or killed someone and then he's drinking because of that incident.
Yeah.
But-
That's what I read online. So congratulations.
All right. Well done.
Sure, I mean, I know that it's a personal story, but way to make it not relate to anyone.
It's a little
if your father
specific.
killed someone.
It's a little too specific. Not everyone's father kills someone.
Yeah.
But
And maybe it's something that, if you're a kid that young, it's not really something you can understand, like, oh, my dad is drinking because he hit somebody with his car and killed them. I can understand that. But as a kid, you might not make that connection. So maybe that's why it's just sort of hazy memories, and maybe you were too young, and
maybe he
You're not
hit
supposed to
someone
make it.
because he was drinking, though. We don't know. That is a cause of accidents sometimes with cars.
I mean, usually... Never mind. I'm thinking about it.
One of the other points that I noted that I really liked was when at the end where it was kind of like you're throwing stuff in the tubes and it's giving you this explanation just in case you didn't really know what was happening. When he was throwing something into the tube and his sister was coming out and then the father was like
assault.
drunk and beating up his sister.
Yeah, and you had to save her.
Yeah, like she had to run off something, and
You made a way for her to escape.
You lost a
Yeah.
lot of siblings, but one of
I
them.
saw it as no. That's not how I interpreted it at all. Because the first part, you're getting him drunk enough that he passes out, so that you can push him off to the next level, and then you're luring him off the edge of that level with the girl by having her run off the edge or run to the edge, and then he goes down to the next level, and then you can finally get him on the center.
It seems like you're trying to. It's like there's the statues, right? And then you like replay the statues again. It's like you're dealing with the statues, and the statues represent memories. So it's like you have to deal with your memories somehow. That's how I interpreted it. So it's like, okay, here are the 3 memories that you have, or whatever. Getting drunk and getting angry, and assaulting your sister, or whatever. So relive it, and you have to deal with it. And now you can
Climb up a tower.
Let him go.
I don't know. You can let it go.
I kind of felt like it was dealing with guilt. Like, if only I had been stronger then, I could have saved my sister. So reliving the memory. Yeah.
along those lines, I thought it may have been like your sister took a lot of the lumps for you. And thinking of that, it was just like that was probably the most jarring part for me.
That's kind of why I feel like it goes with what you said, where it's forcing you to actually like make it happen. You're like, okay, here's a sister. Like that's kind of like disgusting feeling, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
It's making you actually
Have to
confront
deal
it and deal with it in that way.
Yeah.
It could have been interesting in the sense of the game designer is saying, no, save your sister. Like he's trying to make sure no one else has the same fate. He's like, do it.
That's weird because I definitely never got the feeling that I was saving her when I did that. It was just I have to get him to chase her off so he falls off the ledge. It's just a means to an end.
I thought I was
Like
making a
20
way.
more sisters there. They're just representative.
I definitely felt like I was making an escape path, but maybe I don't know. But what are the blue fruits?
Yeah, that's a good question. What did you guys say to yourselves when you were playing about what those things represented? Because we thought that the frogs were alcohol, the ice fruit was we assumed we were drugging him, right?
Yeah.
So that he would fall asleep.
And the fruit was just food. You know, everyone likes food.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever.
I like a good mango. That's not a mango.
You said the same thing in the game when we were
What?
playing.
That it's not a mango?
What? That's not a mango. You said
I'm
it was a
pretty sure
large
it's not a
olive.
mango.
Is what you thought. What did you guys think that they were?
A melon of some
Those
sort.
things that you said.
with it.
Olives?
Bias, kind of tropical fruit.
I don't think we had anything specific for the ice fruits, as you guys are saying. We knew the frogs were alcohol, but then we were just like, we have to cool them down. And so, I don't know, it was like, I don't think we came up with anything specific.
Were there fire frogs, or am I making that up?
No, the frogs turned him fiery.
Oh. So they could all be fire frogs.
Yeah.
At first,
Yes, there were
I
fire
thought,
frogs.
At first, I thought maybe the frogs were like hallucinogenic qualities sometimes, you know. So maybe that was it was drugs making him crazy angry. But then I'm like, no, something else came up to be alcohol. And it makes more sense. But once it became clear that he was like representing anger and not just like going crazy.
So you could splat the frog against the wall,
We did that a lot.
Oh,
yeah.
so that's like breaking bottles of vodka.
and you got an achievement for doing that.
Yeah, it's been easy.
But that's a gameplay of
Are these Steam achievements or baked-in achievements?
Steam.
We didn't play on Steam.
Yeah, it was the whole. At the very poignant last moment of the game when everything goes white. You completed it. Achievement. Punctuate the emotional intensity.
Was it a play on words of some sort, the title of the
No, he said
achievement?
like
It's a
completed.
conclusion.
Conclusion.
Well, at least there's that, I guess.
Oh yeah, I guess that could be a conclusion to your closure, maybe.
Conclusion.
I just thought of something else. You were talking about the frogs.
Alcohol.
Oh, you were talking about how effective the animation when you get eaten is.
Oh yeah, that's one of my notes. When you get thrown, so like your dad chases you and like sometimes he eats you, sometimes he just throws you, or does he throw you?
I think
And
he
you eat
like
it every time.
he chomps you and then like shakes and tosses you out.
Oh, so two things on that. One is that it looks really painful. I think they did a good job making that look really painful. But the other thing is that like that can help you sometimes.
Yeah,
You get to
help me a lot.
you get to hire legends.
He threw me to places.
It happens a
Like,
lot.
Thanks, Dad. Can I get a ride?
And there's no other bad consequence. So like you sort of become immune to that, and you stop caring. Like the father isn't scary.
Yeah, he stopped like in the very first part. You're terrified. You're like, oh my god, my dad is so scary, and you run away. But then by the end, I was like, maybe if I approach him from this side, he'll throw me up on that platform.
You get that.
Well, that's the thing with when you're dealing with the father, you have to give him alcohol to solve the puzzle sometimes.
Yeah,
and I don't understand what real life situation that would relate to. So it kind of made you not scared of him because sometimes you need him.
He
drunk.
refuses to drive sober. He will not drive.
I need to get to my soccer game.
That's another thing we could talk about the way the game plays out is the linearity. Like you were saying, there's no wrong answers. There's no real consequences to the death.
Yeah. There'll be a puzzle. Like Nanny was playing, and there's I think it was like the scissors that cut the thing. So it seems like a permanent thing. Oh, I'm gonna cut the rope, and
Things gonna
now I'm gonna have to restart if I do it wrong or whatever because I cut the rope. But like from the rest of the game, I had just noticed that there's no wrong answer. The game's never gonna put you into it like a corner, and then you have to like I don't know restart the whole game or something. So the game is built in a way. It's like Portal or whatever. The game's built in a way where it's play tested so that you won't get stuck. You can't ever do anything wrong. So I was just like, Natalie, just pull the scissors just to see what it does. You're just wasting time. So you go pull the scissors and the rope regenerates, right? And it sees you. Oh, okay, we want to get him in this pit.
Yeah.
So there's like no point in the game where you should be afraid. Like puzzles usually are kind of scary because you can like do the puzzle wrong. Right,
yeah,
but there's no fear puzzle.
Or you might just look like an idiot.
Well, like the biggest frustration in the game was really when, if you were trying to get the mango someplace and he ate it before you got there, right?
Yeah.
Like that was the biggest consequence. You had to start over.
It's
That
like-
was-
Yeah, you have to go back.
You guys need to study your fruits. Those aren't mango.
What are they?
Coconuts?
They're coconuts.
Red and
They were
red and green.
orange.
Yeah.
They were-
No,
they
they
were
were
like a
yellow.
fleshy
Coconuts are
fruit, I
yellow.
I don't know what coconuts look like, except the obvious brown.
Those are coconuts?
I don't think.
I don't think those are
I'm
coconuts.
pretty sure they're coconuts.
What?
I think they're olives.
I'm going, okay. Sure.
Like a papaya.
Yellow
Papaya.
olives.
Papaya, it's Brazilian. Right?
Could be.
Drank quite
Yeah,
cheap.
it's-
No, right?
But
You are
yeah,
Brazil.
I think it's interesting
Brazil.
that not only does the game not punish you, but that there are parts where you're supposedly being punished, or you in most games it's where you messed up. So like when the dad eats you, or when you fall off platform, and it can actually be a good thing that you use to help you solve that part of the gameplay. So like when you have the part where you there's like that big white circle platform, and there's the 3 outer rings of house that you have to move around and line up. And it's like, okay, I did that part. How do I get back over there? I'll just jump off. It's going to respawn me exactly.
Oh, yeah.
So that was kind of a weird feeling where it's like, all right, I'm obviously the best solution is to kill myself. Kind of.
Yeah, I think if you want to have a simulation of like your dad knocking you around, you kind of want to do an amnesia kind of thing, where it's first person and wobbly.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how you would do it in third person.
What do you know about amnesia?
I played a little bit
All right.
until I got too scared. It's a
Okay.
scary game.
So you went past the part where you fall down and then I throw up.
Yeah, I got stuck in a locked room somewhere. Yeah, I don't know how you would do that in third person. There's probably a way. But the biggest thing you would want to do is have a lot of tension for not wanting to die.
I think the problem there, though, is that they would need to make it a lot. Like, sometimes it was impossible to get away from the dad. Like, even the part I noticed where there's, like, the 2 doors, near the end, there's, like, a secret door that takes you just, like, back and forth.
You and your
Different
secret
side of the
doors.
level.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know what you're
One of
talking
those
about.
white
Okay.
doors.
Yeah, I
One
got
of
you.
those
I
white
got you.
doors.
All right.
And I went through the white door, which is supposedly like it's obviously specifically to get you away from the monster so you can go back up the stairs.
But he's
They still
there
got me.
at the other
He's
side.
there.
Yeah.
So I think if they were going to punish you more for mistakes, then they needed to make it easier for you to avoid those mistakes. Just go.
Maybe if they
Maybe
pulled
it's
your
good.
eyes out when you got caught by the. Yeah.
Are you
Maybe
referring
he
to some
sneezed
other game?
and his eyes.
Some kind of sneeze related. I don't know. Just thinking out loud here.
I mean, I guess the problem is, like, there are games where people chase you, like, the 3D Marios have Shadow Mario or Cosmic Mario, depending on what you're playing, and that's a person that chases you, and is always a certain number of units behind you. But that's fun to evade, right? Because you're kind of controlling a person because they're following you, and so you can do that stylishly, and I'm sure they didn't want it to be fun. So how do you make it so that you're being chased and terrified, and it's not exciting in the way that Mario is?
Apparently, you make your dude have a really big hitbox.
I guess it should have been a survival horror game, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. The coconuts should have been your rations.
The 2 herbs.
2 herbs.
Greg, do you want to talk about the music?
No, I wrote a whole post on that. I'm good.
Okay.
So if you want to know what I think of
that?
it,
God.
I have to read.
If you want to learn more about the music, go to, what's our website? TheGameFaces.com? Is that right?
Yes.
I didn't know if the was in it. It is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go tagline.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah. What did you guys have anything to say about the music?
It was
I
lovely.
don't remember it.
It was alright.
Entirely possible
There
that
were
we
a
played
few
without the
parts
sound
where
on.
the music picked up or an instrument added, and I was pretty sure it was correlated to when I was doing something right in the puzzle, so that was kind of nice.
Yeah.
So what was the deal? This is graphics, not music. When you pulled the world apart or whatever, was that salt or was that chalk? You know what I'm talking about? When it was like shiny
Oh, yeah.
white rock? What was that supposed to be?
Do I
Is
not
Brazil
remember
known
anything?
for its salt
Or chalk.
or
I would
chalk?
guess it would be
Well, the
chalk.
chalk was a theme in the game,
Sure.
right? But chalk isn't shiny.
I don't know what he's talking.
So like I think we call it like the snow world. Whenever there would be chunks of the world where it was like just totally white. So all the buildings, not buildings, but he was made of just solid white, sparkly.
That appeared anytime you like pulled a stair out too. The side edge was
imagination pieces. The pieces that didn't make sense.
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, but
I
sometimes
just think
there
of
was like
like
a whole corner.
when you break drywall.
No, because it's
It's
still
white?
not shiny.
No, it's
Right.
but it's shiny just because it's magically.
But it looked really cool.
It's
and
magically
broken
infused
drywall
with-
doesn't look cool.
It's magically infused with your childish imagination.
Maybe it's your imagination is running out, and so parts of it are just.
You didn't think about that part.
Under
worry about
construction.
Avert your eyes.
It should have
Why-
been the
why are you looking
pink
at bugs?
grid,
What's wrong?
the texture missing grid.
God, that color.
I hate that.
Well, okay, one thing, I think this is a John Flow thing, is like the visual elements have high contrast between the things you interact with, things that are the environment,
Yeah, well, sometimes you had to go in the white area and platform around.
and platform around. But I mean, like, where's the key? The key is like bright, glowy chalk design.
That was
It was always easy to find the things that you're supposed to go to.
That's really important. But it does make you feel stupid when you miss it, because it's like brighter than the sun over there. Just go there.
I think a lot of the times though we were overestimating difficulty or what we were supposed to do. So,
Yeah.
well, maybe if I run around here, I'll find like a tiny thing that I need to put somewhere, and it's like, no, it's obviously the big white thing. Just go look for it. There's always
Because you
big
want it to be more interesting than maybe it is. I know in the first puzzle, there was a soccer ball in the room, whatever, and I grabbed it to take it with me because I was like, oh, we're going to need this. Something, we're going to need to use this for something.
I don't know
didn't
why
need
you
it
would have
at all.
thought that.
Well, I immediately came to a ladder and had to drop it. So.
I did the exact same thing.
soccer balls everywhere.
Soccer balls aren't keys to anything. They're just.
But he held it on his head. It was cool. I don't know.
The
He
first
should have
time I
juggled
saw
it the whole time.
The pipes that eat stuff. There was a
Don't use
soccer
your
ball
hands.
right next to that. I was like, oh, it wants to eat the soccer ball. Here it goes. They need to kick it in there. Oh, no.
It would have been a lot more interesting if they would have used the soccer ball that way. And
It should have
thematic.
been all soccer. The whole game should have been soccer. God, that would have been cool.
FIFA
It's a
Street.
soccer simulation, and
Yeah.
the dad's the drunk coach.
Or the drunk dad at the game.
He makes or the drunk dad at the game. It makes training very difficult.
I mean, I guess the point there is that whenever you were doing something, you were just moving platforms, and it was a little interesting because you like made a wiggly bridge out of houses, right, with your imagination.
That's cool. That's inherently neat.
It was cool, but it didn't have any significance, right? You weren't exploring the environment in an interesting way. You were just breaking it, right? You were taking a normal thing and making it weird.
You also didn't feel like you really accomplished anything since you just did what the game was.
You see all those houses and you're like,
Yeah, go to this house, hit the little clockwork key, go to the next one, go to the next one. Like, I thought that wiggly bridge was cool, but it was a lot of work to get it there.
games just need an I get it button. Just okay.
A lot of running.
Well, I think that's important, actually, in puzzle design, is they should be easily solved once you figure it out. It should be really hard to do it without knowing the key, but once you figure it out, it should be like 2 steps.
I think my not thoroughly thought through idea of what a good puzzle should be is difficult to figure out, extremely easy to execute,
Right.
and like the time difference between those.
And that's the Zelda problem, is you walk into the room and you see everything. You see the box, you see the switch, and you're like, I gotta drag that all the way over there.
You instantly know what to do, but it takes you the whole time, like 5 minutes.
There were a couple times in this game where I got really mad because it made me run really far away, and the moment I got there, I pressed something, and then the camera zoomed all the way back to where I just was, and I had to run all the way back up. Like, all I did was...
Yeah, lots of running.
We're
That
too
was
lazy. That's the lazy face.
Kiko should have had a gun, and then he could shoot things from far away to get them to move.
We'll call it Lula.
Yeah, some sort of long distance button presser.
That actually did have a few cool moments with Lula, where it usually didn't work out, but when it did, it was cool. Where you would see the Lula thing, and you would just press the button and keep jumping, and hope that everything would line up perfectly in your way.
That's just you.
It worked a couple times, and it's like, well, no, that's like I'm getting through the game faster.
Yes, you did win. You were winning in that period of time.
Did anybody else do what we did, where we played the first hour of the game, stopped, and then didn't play it again for like a month and a half?
Never put games down. That's my philosophy. Just one sitting all the way through.
When you can.
You can.
Nah, it just took us a month and a half to start.
Yeah, that's what we were telling you guys. It's only like 3 hours long.
Yeah.
We just did it all at once.
And I'm very thankful for that.
That it was 3 hours.
Yeah.
Me too.
Could have been less without the ride. It's got
You were that ride. I did not feel that bad about the ride.
Our ride was longer because it took us a long time. We did the thing again. We were like, well, maybe if we jump on these pots. Maybe if we jump on this tire, we can jump over the fence.
No,
When it was really, you're supposed to use Lula to start the thing. So we were on there for like 5 more minutes.
Yeah, that's about it. We're like looking off in the
we wanted to
distance.
jump.
I don't even know. Like just, is that fog? Oh, how about that? How do we get over this fence? Oh.
Yeah, I really wanted to get over that bit. The game had a lot of whimsy. That was the thing I kept noticing. I kept saying it was a press A for whimsy game.
Those wiggly legs on the houses that move were adorable.
Did they have a funny sound effect?
Yeah, I think they did. But like everything you pressed would make like a little flute trill sound and sparkle.
Yeah, I mean, that stuff was pretty well thought through, and it would enhance a good game a lot.
I'm gonna say again, game without gameplay would have been fine.
All right. Everybody good? Everyone? Any more points for anyone?
Did you check the comments?
I'm all out of points.
Comments. Let's check the comments.
I'm on
Let's
point.
check our mail.
And now it's time to go to the comments.
We can make up users.
I don't know how to do that. So users.
Papo fan 22 says.
You guys suck.
That's
Actually, I think this game might be valuable to compare to Gone Home, because that was a game with almost without gameplay, right? It was walking around and exploring and getting the story, and I actually appreciate.
I had a better time with Gone Home than.
Right. Despite my problems with Gone Home and the story, it was just story, which meant that it was focused, and I appreciated that. There are like the people who made that made BioShock, and that is the worst version of Gone Home because you have to do this shooting that's not very interesting and get the story. And I feel like this game had that problem too.
And by
like,
shooting, you mean wrenching.
What? I don't know.
You've never.
You've got a hand that glows, and sometimes you've got a gun. Right? But this game had that same problem where it's like, yeah, there's gameplay, but
I absolutely don't want to do it.
Don't want to do it. It didn't help. It wasn't worth it.
You could have done less, and it would have been better.
Mm-hmm.
Any mail, Greg? Any comments?
I don't know how to. I don't know.
Features.
How do you do that?
Go to plus.google.com. You'll see on my feed, because we're friends, you'll see the Hangout, and you should open it. Can you open it in your tab? Is there a link, or is it just a square?
I can.
There you go. He's got it.
Oh,
Of course, we're going to start hearing ourselves through the thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't... yeah. No comments. Sorry, we're just laughing at other things that I'm finding. There's a big...
There's a big grumpy cat?
Angry cat. Grumpy cat.
That's what Nick was talking about earlier.
No, it wasn't.
We could do a mini,
cat.
session on the sneeze maze.
Oh yeah, let's talk about you, Fame.
That's okay.
Oh.
Sneeze
I
maze?
played it.
What did you think?
Did you?
Good job.
You guys got to play the...
My eyes out.
You can find that at nwasilewski.communitystorybook.com
/sneezemaze_web/sneezemaze_web.html.
No, I think it's sneezemaze_web_sneezemaze_game or something.
It should be game.html. It has to.
Wait, you guys played You guys played the one where the camera moved with you, right?
Yes. Wait. Yeah.
The other version I assume would be broken.
Nope.
Camera.
No. See, the camera rotated with you, right? Like overhead, you turn and the camera turns. It's tank controls.
Yeah.
The original game was not that. It was just top-down.
Got it.
Regular fixed camera.
Got it.
We Metal Gear Solid 3 subsistence it.
Well, Nick and I were talking about that before as how you could make a 2D Miasmata where you could get lost.
And you can actually get lost when you rotate.
When you rotate, but it's actually not that disorienting.
It's not that disorienting. A lot of it's because there are lots of straight lines in the game. In Sneeze Maze, at least.
So textures would have...
Sneeze Maze, to me, Sneeze Maze was very disorienting. I got lost. Or I felt like I got lost.
Oh yeah, I've never beaten the maze, so I guess I got lost.
You were so close. I don't know how you get to the hallway with all the eyes in the dust, and you
I thought that was like the midpoint.
No, that's the end. That is the end of the game.
So there's like the end of the game, which was I don't know why you sneezed so much. I assumed it was the end because you sneezed so much, and there's so many eyeballs that you could just keep going and pick up eyeballs and kept sneezing.
Yeah.
But trying to move, like trying to do it, it seemed impossible. You had to take a step, or maybe it was just not. It was just too boring.
Whatever those eyeballs were intended for, it was a great way to tell me to pick up blue and green eyes. I thought it was like, yes, pick up blue and green eyes.
How did you think that?
Because there was only blue and green eyes.
What?
There.
No way.
I didn't see any red.
I could have forgotten to put reds in there.
It seemed like a lot. It seemed really luck based. I'm not sure if it was, but it seemed really luck based where I didn't know where the paths were going to be and what colors I needed to see the path. So I just hoped that I had the right two eyeballs.
It was always such that if you take if you remove your oldest eye and take the new one, then you get the next path.
Well, I didn't never know which eyes would be. And I assumed if I had like a blue eye, I would want. Okay. Well, that's good.
It's very creative. And Greg, that sound, that like accordion bah, when you sneeze, that made me so scared of sneezing.
Yeah, it was absolutely. It was interesting because sometimes you're blind. That it was a game where you play a lot by sound. Like that sneezing sound effect, it trained me instantly to press the buttons. I was never able to press the right button that I needed, for which I had to, like, never when an opportune sneeze came, I would get to the eyeball I needed, right? Sneeze, close both eyes, then be like, oh crap, I should have used that opportunity, wait 2 minutes for another sneeze, and then
It's 15 to 20 seconds. Or 10
it felt like a long
goddamn
time.
minute.
All right,
That's good. Good job, guys, making the game.
completed the game.
Thanks. I'm glad you all played.
One guy beat it just by brute force. He didn't do any. He just kept pushing the buttons and then like moved through the maze somehow and got.
Yeah,
to the end.
the first version of the game, it didn't have the rotating camera right, so you couldn't. Well, the first problem with it was that if you had like the red eye in the left and the path that you needed to see with the red was on your right, you couldn't see it. So there was one issue, and the other one was that there's simply the eye combination wasn't set right. I think at the time.
There was
So
one
they-
part where you just literally you couldn't. There was a part where you couldn't go. The cyan
Yeah.
part. There was no eye there,
Yeah.
so you were just done.
So he was just like, I'm gonna do it by feel. First guy that played our game besides
Yeah.
us, and then did it, and then everybody else is like, I don't know how to
Can't even
even
start.
the first eye. So
Yeah, if you're going to make the game strafe, you definitely need. It would have to be only open or close, right? Not seeing half the screen. It would be like the screen is whatever color of the combination. of
Maybe
eyes
you dim
have.
the screen in half when you lose one eye or something.
Yeah, I mean you could do that, but I'm just saying like the whole screen would have to be one color, so it would be. I think it was the right thing to do to make you be able to turn and do that. It was annoying to only see half the screen sometimes, but that was kind of part of it.
That was the point. Not that it should be the point, but it was the point. What are you gonna do? I don't know how to make a game jam game that's not annoying.
Yeah, we definitely got a cyborg punch feel from the get rid of your body parts and replace them with.
I didn't even think about that until like after the fact, where it was like, oh gosh.
Now, when is the mashup coming?
Damn,
Right.
I missed it. Well, one of the original unreleased thought about features for Cyborg Punch was that when you lose your head, you can't see the game anymore. So
That would make that game impossible.
But it would make the exploding bomb head less powerful.
Yeah.
you'd have to be ready to pick up another head as soon as you use one. So it could be good. It could have been good.
to be fair to Nick's imagination, we didn't think about anything about losing body parts until I was talking about the myth of your eyes popping out
Oh yeah.
if you don't.
That was Greg's contribution. The eyes, losing the eyes.
Was this game inspired by real life allergy suffering?
I wanted it to be the Papo and Yo of allergies.
Sometimes you have to accept your allergies and use them to solve the puzzle.
Was the theme disabilities or something?
It was
Well, because there was the
Sneeze
bomb
me.
thing too, the Oculus bomb thing.
There's the wheelchair.
Oculus Bomb. God, that
Yeah,
was.
And
that
that
was
was
so-
kind of a disability because one
Oh,
person
that
could
game
do it.
looks so
and the other
good.
person couldn't.
The theme was we don't see things as they are, we see things as we are. Which doesn't really.
Whatever. You
It
saw
does.
the word C.
I saw the word C. I had an idea for eyelids.
We
went from
are.
there.
Yeah, it's not as deep as they wanted it to be, but you had.
Well, I don't know how.
you.
God, I don't know. I don't really like that theme because. It's fine. It's fine.
Papo
It's
Yo picks that
inspiration,
theme.
not limitation. Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Well, thanks for playing
Thanks for
and
watching.
chatting. And thank you, viewers, for watching.
Yeah, we are the game
Hit
face.
this far.
And the viewers.
If you didn't stop and then watch wrestling instead. I guess we don't have anything planned right now as for what our next game is, but
Stay
Sorry
tuned.
about that after the hangout.
Yeah, we'll have this hangout posted, and also Brandon, who has not appeared yet on our videos, has written something on Fez and Plato, and he will be posting that in the next few days. So keep an eye out.
Get hype.
Keep your eye out. Don't sneeze them out.
You can stop
Okay.
hanging out.
Oh,
See you guys.
I'm stopping the hangout. I forgot I have the power. Bye.
Oh yeah.
Bye.
Bye.